What if procrastination, resentment, or emotional flatness are not character flaws, but signs of career misalignment? Stay tuned for how noticing what no longer fits begins when you stop pushing through and start listening honestly. Welcome back to the Resilient MD, the podcast and YouTube channel where we have honest conversations about medicine, burnout, resilience, and how to care for others without losing ourselves in the process. I'm Dr. Anna McDowell, certified life coach, allergist, and your host. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to share a little life update and explain why this one is coming out later than planned. Well, I was in Brazil with my family celebrating my dad's 85th birthday. My sisters and I organized a big party for him in Rio, and it ended up being such a beautiful and special time together. Family flew in from different places. A lot of his cousins came, and even several of his old Navy buddies were there. The funny part is that my dad absolutely did not want that party at first and kept making jokes about it the whole time. But once everyone was there, you could tell he was so happy and truly enjoying every minute of it. Seeing him surrounded by so much love was really incredible. Now, I honestly thought I had done enough episodes to cover my time away, but apparently I miscounted somewhere along the way. Oops. So that's why today's episode is a little late. But I really didn't want to skip this one because this topic is way too important and I know it's going to help so many of you. Thank you for being patient with me and for always being here. Sometimes life gives us these really precious moments with the people that we love, and this one definitely was one of them. All right, friends, now let's get into it. This month, we begin a new theme inside our butterfly ear journey: finding language for what's been quiet. And today's episode begins with something subtle but incredibly important. Not asking yourself what you want next, but noticing what no longer fits. Because transformation rarely begins with crystal clear vision of what the future brings. More often, it begins with friction. Most high achieving women are exceptionally good at adapting. We adjust, accommodate, we push through. And because you are capable, you can often function for a very long time inside environments, expectations, or routines that no longer feel aligned. Not because they are healthy for you, but because you are learned how to survive them. So instead of noticing discomfort clearly, you normalize it. You tell yourself, this is just adulthood. This is part of the profession. Everyone feels this way. And slowly, your internal experience becomes background noise. But the body continues to notice, even when the mind starts minimizing. One of the first signs that something no longer fits is friction. Not a dramatic crisis, just friction. Tasks that once felt neutral suddenly feel heavy. Conversations leave you depleted instead of energized. Responsibilities that used to feel manageable now create resistance before they even start. And because these feelings are subtle, many people dismiss them. But friction is often information, not proof that you're lazy, not proof that you're failing. It is just information. Something in you is reacting differently now, and that deserves curiosity, not immediate judgment. Sometimes what we call exhaustion is actually resistance. Not resistance in the sense of avoidance, but resistance in the sense that part of you no longer wants to move in that same direction. This can be difficult to recognize, especially for physicians, because we are trained to override internal signals. Let's face it, if something feels hard, we push harder. If we feel disconnected, we become more productive. If we feel emotionally tired, we tell ourselves to be grateful. But eventually, the internal tension grows. Again, not loudly, quietly. You may notice procrastination around specific tasks, dread before certain parts of the day, emotional numbness, irritation that seems disproportionate, fantasizing about escape, even when things look fine externally. These are not character flaws. They are signals worth paying attention to. One emotion many women struggle to admit is resentment, because resentment feels ugly, ungrateful, unkind. So instead of acknowledging it, we suppress it quickly, make it go away. But resentment often carries important information. It can point toward chronic overgiving, lack of reciprocity, blurred boundaries, needs that have gone unacknowledged for too long. Resentment is not always a sign that something is wrong with you. Sometimes it's a sign that you've been functioning too far away from yourself. And instead of shaming yourself, we can learn to listen to what is trying to review. Before we move on, I want to pause for a moment. I'm curious, have you been feeling exhausted, discouraged, or frustrated and not quite sure why? Are you quietly wondering if this is just how life in medicine has to be? Well, I see you. You don't have to give up on yourself or your dreams. And the good news is that you don't have to figure it all out alone. I built a 6-week one-on-one coaching program designed to help women physicians gently remove the barriers keeping them stuck and rediscover clarity, balance, and purpose. It is called the Resilient MD, just like the podcast and YouTube channel. If you're ready, you can begin today. Schedule your free clarity call. The link is in the show's notes. I left this one for last because most people do not realize it, but numbness is also a signal. Not everyone experiences misalignment as emotional intensity. Sometimes the signal is the opposite: numbness, flatness, disconnection. You're still functioning, still doing what needs to be done, but internally things feel muted. Nothing feels particularly exciting. Nothing feels deeply meaningful. You move through the day almost automatically. And because this doesn't look dramatic from the outside, it's easy to overlook. And sometimes people do not notice it because of that. But numbness is not the absence of information. It's often what happens when feelings have been suppressed for too long. The nervous system stops amplifying signals because it no longer expects them to be heard. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they begin noticing these signals is rushing to solve them immediately. What should I do? Do I need to change careers? Do I need to make a decision right now? But that is not necessarily truth. This stage is not about immediate action. It's about learning to stay present long enough to understand your experience more honestly. You don't not need a 5-year plan right now. You simply need enough honesty to acknowledge something no longer fits the way it used to. And that recognition alone can begin changing the way you move through your life. The Find Your Wings journey does not begin with reinvention. It begins with truth, quiet truth, the kind that whispers before it speaks clearly, the kind that says, "This pace no longer works for me. This version of success feels incomplete. I can't keep up functioning like this, but I don't think I want to anymore." This is not weakness. This is self-awareness becoming more honest. And honesty is where real transformation begins. If something in your life feels tight, heavy, resistant, or emotionally flat, you do not need to panic, and you do not need to force answers. You simply need to begin listening differently. Not every signal is a crisis, but not every signal should be ignored either. Sometimes growth begins very quietly with the realization that something no longer fits, and that realization is enough for today. My wings grow when I listen. If this episode resonated with you, share it with another physician or high achieving women who may quietly feel that something no longer fits. Next week, we will be talking about what chronic self silencing could be telling you. So don't forget to subscribe. This way, you will never miss any episode in this Find Your Wings journey. Quick heads up, if you're serious about saving time, think like 10 hours a week, don't leave without downloading the time management guide that walks you through how to make that happen. Grab it now at annamcdowell.com/guide. Your feedback means so much. If you found today's episode helpful, please consider leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or your favorite platform and liking the video on YouTube. Every single one helps this podcast grow and support more women like you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening more honestly. And thank you for allowing yourself to notice what your inner world may have been trying to say for a long time. I'm Dr. Anna McDowell, a resilient MD just like you. Now, normally I'll say I'll see you next week, but since we're late in this episode and I'm trying to go back on track, I hope to see you on our regular schedule on Monday. I'm trying very hard to manage that, so I'm gonna say I'll see you then.